Ragin'.
Ragin' Review.
The Ragin' Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin' Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Ragin' Review Podcast. It's just me right now flying solo. We got some boys joining us in just a little bit. We have a lot to go over tonight. We, of course, are going to talk baseball. We'll talk softball, basketball team, and that debacle that happened last night. Congratulations to our men's track team doing something they haven't done in almost 30 years, which is absolutely ridiculous. See some of you already chiming in. What's up, James? Hope you're doing well tonight. It'll be a lot of fun. Also, we're going to address something that's been going on. It's been on our minds for a couple of days. I'm sure you know what it is. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We want to get through business first. We want to get through all the stuff that matters. And then we'll get into, the extracurricular activities in just a little bit, because I know a lot of you want to hear what we have to say, and I want to talk about it too. So we'll address that in a bit. But first things first, Ragin' Cajuns baseball team picking up a win last night against Southeastern Louisiana by a score of 9-7. That was a rebound off of a terrible game against McNeese, where they were held scoreless in a 3-0 loss to McNeese State in Lake Charles. And now the Cajuns move on to face the UC Irvine Anteaters this weekend in a 3-game series. I think the Anteaters are still ranked. They were up to about 20 in one of the top 25 polls. So it's going to be a tough matchup. Look forward to that. And before we get into all of the nuts and bolts about this week and this upcoming weekend, of course, the boys are going to be joining me a little bit later, but we want to get to something really cool. You know, last couple of weeks, we have been interviewing coaches of the other team. We were very privileged to have head coach of UC Irvine, Ben Orloff, on with us today. And he's going to give us his thoughts about UC Irvine, what we can expect, even talk about his experience at the Teague when they came here just a couple of years ago. I think Chico in Section A calls them the Fighting Benny Fitzgeralds. If you remember, Ben Fitzgerald ended up at UC Irvine. So we're going to talk to him about all of that and much, much more right now. When we come back, we'll, like I said, we'll talk about more in just a bit.
All right, everybody, we're here with head coach of your UC Irvine Anteaters, Coach Ben Orloff. Coach, thank you so much for giving us the time and the opportunity. It's great to meet you. We saw you a couple years ago here in Lafayette, but this time we're going to visit what I think is referred to lovingly as the Ant Hill. So it's going to be good to see you guys again.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting series, and we're looking forward to it. And, part of us, when we got this home and home scheduled a couple of years ago, I thought it'd be 2 times of 2 of the best, non-Power 4 programs playing each other. And it was a fun series a couple of years ago, and we're glad to get the return this year.
Coach, you took over for the head coach of UC Irvine from the legendary Mike Gillespie, who helped put the program on the map with a College World Series appearance and a history of success in the regional and super regional tournaments. Tell us what it was like taking over for coach who really set the table for success, and talk about a little bit about coaching for the university you went to and attended.
Yeah, I was really fortunate that I got to play for Coach Gillespie my last 2 years at UC Irvine. Then I was playing pro ball with the Astros, and I actually quit playing when I was in AA to come back and work for him. And so I got to watch for 5 years him coach. And it was a master class in what being a college baseball coach looks like. And candidly, I mean, I don't have the job that I have or any of that stuff if it wasn't for Coach Gillespie. And so to see him, to be around him for the length of time that I was lucky to be around him, I think prepared me to be his coach, head coach, as much as you could be prepared. We're different. You know, I'm trying to be myself. I can't be him. I'll never be the coach that he was. But, you know, I'm kind of set up to have the job that I have now because of him. And so we're forever grateful for him. And it's special to be working here at a place where I played at, in this university. I've been a part of it. I mean, on and off since 2005, I guess. And so this place is really special to me. And, you know, we're trying to do our best job to not screw it up.
I think you're doing just fine. I think you set a record, D1 record for winning percentage last year at 74% or something like that. And unfortunately, the journey ended in a regional in Corvallis, but UC Irvine has typically had good teams throughout the 2000s. And really, people that don't know, won a national championship twice in Division II in the 70s. Unfortunately, had to shut the program down because of budget cuts in the 90s. Resurrected it 96 or 94, I believe, something like that. I'm not 100%. I have a brief history lesson on UC Irvine baseball, but they're a household name for college baseball fans. I wonder, how does the alumni support nowadays? I know you guys put a lot of money into the facilities. You have a nice place out there. How does the alumni and the college baseball family out there support you guys as coaches and players? And what kind of atmosphere can we expect at the Hill when we're watching?
It's great alumni support. And I played here. Our pitching coach played here. Our first base coach played here. We just had our alumni game the last Saturday in January, and we have 100 alums come back. So a lot of people are really invested in the program and enjoy seeing it do well. When you all will expect the weather will be great for at least Friday and Saturday. We won't have the attendance and the atmosphere that you all have for the home games, which our kids loved experiencing a few years ago. Really great weather, Southern California. We're like a couple miles from Newport Beach where all of our kids live. So all that stuff will be great.
That's awesome. And on that note, I did want to ask you about your experience in Lafayette. We love to get the stories from different perspectives. How did the West Coast guys like coming down to Lafayette to play some baseball?
Hey, we loved it. We don't play in front of those fan numbers out here out west. So to go there and to see the fans and how much everybody cared, let alone, the product that Coach Deggs runs out in the field is as good as anywhere in the country. So we had a great time. The people there treated us great. Obviously, everybody wants the Raging Cajuns to win, which was fun. We got fed after every game, and we had a great experience out there a couple of years ago.
And the cooking club is quite the unique experience. We're really proud of that. And the food's always, people like to rave about that. Just on a personal note, from a scheduling standpoint, how did that series a few years ago and then this series now, how did that come to fruition? Do you have a personal contact on the team? Was it just a coaching fraternity? How did that develop?
Yeah, I think this one came about more. There's some websites where people post they have open weekends. I think this one came about more. I want to say it started between me and Anthony Babineau. And I always just try to find, some teams that win a lot of games every year. 50% of your RPI is your opponent win-loss record. And so we're trying to find really high caliber opponents to go play that win year in and year out. It's hard getting some of those high-end teams to agree to do a home and home with you. Some of those teams, it'll be a guarantee. Well, you'll go out there, but they won't return the trip. And I think to grow the sport at your school, you have to bring in quality opponents. And I think they saw a lot of stuff similar in us that we saw in them. And so it's been a great fit to go out there several years ago and to meet Coach Deggs and the rest of the guys on the coaching staff. Everybody was first class. And, this was coming off when Coach Deggs was a superstar from, what he did in some of those postseasons at Sam Houston in Louisiana. And, I'm a big history fan of college baseball, so I know what Louisiana baseball means there. So that's kind of how this thing came about, and it's been maybe 3 years ago we went there, and now the return trip. So this has been great.
Coach, you're coming off of a successful 2024 season where you finished second in the Big West and earned an at-large berth in the NCAA tournament. What is your strategy this year in getting over the hump and moving past the regionals to go further on throughout the tournament?
Yeah, I think, every year is so different. It's one of the things that I admire so much about Louisiana, Lafayette so much is, you guys 3 straight regionals, which is not easy, especially when you're not in one of those Power 4 leagues. We have a completely new group. We've got 20 new players. This position player lineup for, I think, every game this year has had 7 new starters in there. So every year is completely different. This year is really completely different. I think it's not just coach speak, but to play well, to try to improve as the season goes on. And out here, there's just not much margin for error in really any of our games if you don't win the conference. In terms of the selection show on Memorial Day, we've been left out a couple of years ago with 38-17 and 8-1 against the Pac-12. So even just getting to the postseason is extremely difficult. And so all of these feel like playoff type games, and this feels like a super regional type weekend with 2 good teams. And so, they all matter so much, but last year was great. And this year's, it's a really new team.
Coach Ben, you kind of gave us a little bit of insight on your scheduling philosophy, and I think it's probably pretty common around the country, but you've done a great job filling out your schedule this year. Your out of conference is outstanding. It's probably going to end up in the top 25 in the country, in my opinion. You guys opened the season with Nebraska and beat them pretty good. It's our only opponent to this point. So if fans want to go ahead and glean anything from that, look for the game from Nebraska and see how that goes. You guys were able to win that game 10-5. You also took on Vanderbilt in that tournament. You did lose you lose by 1 run there, but you gave them a game the whole way there. You went and took 2 from Texas Tech this weekend. And then, of course, you never want to lose to a West Coast team. You lost to USC. I know that one kind of stung. I don't want to bring it up. Don't want to rub salt in the wound. But you mentioned you had a new group this year. What has impressed you about this new group? What's impressed you about your lineup, and what's impressed you about the pitching staff?
Yeah, I think, we like the talent. And when you're coming out of the fall and when you're coming out of January and February, it's hard to know how you're going to react when you play somebody else. I really didn't know just because we had so much new. I think I liked and I do like the talent that we have. It's just inexperienced talent. And so you don't really know what's going to happen when you play somebody else. And so we've really challenged ourselves with the non-conference schedule, and this weekend gets no easier. And then our last non-conference weekend is the bye during conference, where we go to Oregon State for 3. And so I've just been really pleased with just the competitiveness, the belief of our players, because, we've played some of the biggest brands in the sport, and just the competitiveness, the belief, the kind of the lack of the moment being too big. That's been really good for the guys. And, that talent's starting to show up, and we can play more consistent baseball. We pitched it really good last night against Utah Tech. And, if we can kind of rein in that pitching and pitch it more like last night, I think we got a chance to be a really good team again.
I'll let Lane get into more of the specifics. I know he has some questions about individual players, but I wanted to ask, this is your last out-of-conference series before you jump into conference, and the Big West is always good. The Dirtbags. I can go down the list. You have Fullerton, obviously a legacy program. You guys play in a really good league, as do we. What's your strategy? What do you want to see out of you guys before you jump into conference play with a lot of familiar opponents?
Yeah, you'd kind of like to have a good handle going into conference on, the roles. Who are the starting pitchers? Who are the go-to relievers? What does the lineup look like? So that's part of it. But I think, we don't have the luxury that some other schools might have in terms of, kind of just figuring it out, and conference is what matters. Kind of like we said earlier, if we have any hopes of being an at-large team, you can't lose a few games while you figure it out. Every game seems so important. And so I think we're starting to kind of figure out the roles and where stuff can be. But yeah, these are all playoff type games for us. And but that's kind of what you hope to figure out.
Coach, pitching wise, You have a team ERA around 6, and Suarez, Ross, and Hansen, all righties, got the starts last weekend against Texas Tech. Is that the rotation we can expect this weekend? And what do you look from your pitching staff for the weekend?
Yeah, we'll have the same rotation this week. Suarez, Ross, and Hansen. All of those guys are talented. All of them can pitch better than how they've pitched. Danny Suarez, a redshirt junior who missed most of 2 years with a Tommy John injury. But he's been around. He's got good secondary pitches. He can when it's all there. We started him on Friday nights for a reason. He was really good against us in January and February. Jack Ross, the JC transfer that was good week 1 against New Mexico. Scuffled a little bit last weekend at Texas Tech. And then Trevor Hansen he made every start last year as a freshman, threw really good in a winner's bracket game at Oregon State in the regional. So all of them are talented. They're all good athletes, which will certainly come into play with the style of offense that Louisiana plays with the athletes and the run game and the bunts. So all of those guys are capable of being really good, and it's going to be about for us to make that next jump to get better starts out of those starting pitching. We've been taxed a lot early with the bullpen, and we need to get some better starting pitching this weekend to have a chance.
Coach, Anthony Martinez is a key player at first base and was out last weekend with an injury. Do you expect we'll see him this weekend?
Yeah, he hasn't played yet. He's been dealing with a hamstring. He's in like a 5-week-ish window of when it happened. We'll kind of know more once we practice today on if he'd be available or not. If he would be, it'd probably be in a DH capacity.
You mentioned Louisiana's style of play, and obviously we're all too familiar. We want to spin the game, want to create some chaos, short game, long game, make you defend the whole field, right? We kind of, among ourselves, kind of get frustrated with decks sometimes because, we call it Operation 56 game lineup. There's 56 lineups and 56 games. That's kind of an inside joke with us. But from an opposing standpoint, how do you prepare for a team like that? How do you, like you said, there's athletes up and down the lineup. Some of them are older, some of them are younger, and they're figuring the game out, but they play with their hair on fire. How does a coach from the West Coast coming in look and say, the game plan is to do this to stop these guys?
Yeah, it's hard to prepare for. It's hard to prepare for, and it's hard to play against. We're familiar having played a couple of years ago for a 3-game series, and you watch a lot of video, and prep work's really difficult for us to play against them. And we played last night, so we really get one. And so, you all played Tuesday and Wednesday, but we get 1 day of practice to prepare for these guys. And this is a hard team to prepare for in 1 day, just because you see more running game, you see more bunt, but they can hit the ball over the fence. And so it's a difficult team to prepare for in 1 day. It's, you've got to, the details got to be buttoned up, and you got to do a good job of taking care of the ball, not being overwhelmed by pressure. And so it's a difficult style to play, and it's good because it'll prepare us. There's a couple teams in our league that play not as aggressive as Coach Deggs, but play on a smaller scale, a similar style. And so it's one of those styles that you're really happy when the weekend's over.
That's great. Does the scouting report, obviously with that in mind, does the scouting report change on how your pitchers attack this offense as opposed to kind of just, what you typically want to do?
I don't think it changes necessarily so much in terms of a pitch making standpoint. I just think in terms of you're just so cognizant of the running game. You're so cognizant of the short game. And like what you said, they defend the whole field. I like what you said. It's not like they have a bunch of small guys that can't hit a double or hit a home or two. And so it's a well-rounded style of play. And so you feel like you're constantly on edge. I think you really place high value in playing teams like Louisiana when you can get the leadoff hitter out. I think when the leadoff hitter's out, it just makes the playbook smaller on offense. When the leadoff hitter gets on, you're just inviting so many options that they can do. And so it's high value on getting the leadoff hitter out.
Very astute observation. That's exactly what we talk about all the time. Getting the lead guy, the lead lady's got to get on for us to do what we want to do. And then conversely, my question would be, what can we expect from the Anteaters this weekend? I know you guys, the West Coast has the West Coast baseball. Everybody talks about it, but you guys all have your different styles of plays. So What can we expect from you guys?
Yeah, I think you want to be able to be well-rounded on offense, and it's about playing to win the game. It's not for me. It's not about playing for style points or stats. It's about playing to win the game. And I think on offense for us, when we're good, we're really managing the strike zone. Last year, one of the things we're really happy of is that walks and hit by pitch were more than strikeouts. So we're really gonna try to stay in the strike zone. We've got to do a lot better job with 2 strikes. And Utah Tech hit some stuff last night, but we struck out 15 times in 8 innings. We've got to do a better job with 2 strikes. Part of that too is extend pitch counts, extend at bats, give yourself a chance for the walk, give yourself a chance for the mistake. We'll be pretty left-handed, which I like. We'll play, every night between 4 and 5 switch or left-handed hitters. And then at our field, especially the Friday night game, to be able to play from ahead, it gets hard to score here at night when the sun goes down and the air gets cold and thick. And then we really like the bullpen where, everybody would like to score first and play from ahead. But for us, if we can play from ahead and kind of shrink the game, we really like the bullpen when it comes time to, getting those last 9 or 12 outs.
What do you think the biggest keys to victory for winning the series is going to be this weekend for y'all?
I think we got to get good starting pitching. We've got to get good starting pitching. We've got to give ourselves a chance to, like I said, play from ahead. The last couple weekends, we've won 2 out of 3, but kind of our lack of getting quality starts has kind of really taxed the bullpen on some of those early days and have kind of left us a little shorthanded out of the bullpen as the weekend goes on. And so we're going to need some quality starting pitching. And not be overwhelmed by action, and then that's what we'll need on that side of the ball to have a chance this weekend.
Now, this is kind of a candid question. I'm going to ask you to be overly honest, and we promise we won't show this to any of your players. What's the ceiling for UC Irvine this year? I know every year is different, especially now with the way the sport is and the landscape, and you have so much turnover, and that used to not be that way. But how good can you be this year?
I think, the goal in this program is to win the national championship. And, we say that as, there's one team that'll do that. But I think in this last year, we were in a regional final against Oregon State, and Oregon State was as good as anybody in the country. And I think it's part of why we've challenged ourselves with the schedule that we have. I think full disclosure and transparency, I always am moderately concerned, for lack of a better word, that our kids don't have that belief of how good they could be, because I really appreciate the work that the research on our school, and that you understand the history of this place, and even that you want to get on here and talk about this. But most of our kids, or all of our kids, didn't have scholarship offers from the UCLA or USC or Arizona State, Oregon. And so I always am moderately concerned that there's a little bit of inferiority, or when we read the national media, you don't see UC Irvine being talked about. And so I think it's really important early in the season for us to challenge ourselves the way we've had, that we can be on the same field as Nebraska, as Vanderbilt, as Texas Tech, as USC, now as Louisiana. So our guys can see that, we're not less than, that we have really good players, and that if we play well, we've got a chance to win. And so the expectations are high, but it's only as good as how good you play. But we schedule how we do to try to, have our kids really have that high belief that I think that they should have here.
I love how it sounds like we're a mirror image of each other. In the intangibles department, we sound very similar. We have these same conversations with the behemoth down the road over there. We don't like to say their name across the basin. So yeah, we have some kids that can play anywhere, and we hope they don't feel like they're not good enough. That's a great way to put it. Parting question before we let you get out of here and go coach your ball club. There was a rumor around town that a young Ben Fitzgerald went over to California and told the boys to prepare themselves for when they come to the T, when you guys visited a couple years ago. We always laugh about that. And I just wanted to ask you, I know we talked about the Teague already being in, having fun in Cajun country, but was there any lasting memory that you had about coming here outside of baseball? Any kind of experience? Maybe it's some of our accents are just absurd. I don't know what it is, but just have a little fun at the end here.
No, I don't. if Ben said anything, that didn't get to us. He had nothing but positive things to say about that place. And my experience personally, a couple of years ago there was great. And it was like everything that we expected in that environment. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, I think did Arizona go to a regional at Louisiana back in the day?
That is correct. 2016, we hosted. We had them on the ropes. Sun came out. Well, it rained on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon. We had to play them on Monday in the hottest day I've ever experienced, and they ended up beating them. If you remember, they had Dahlbeck at third base back then.
Yes. So I was friends with that coaching staff, and I won't say one of the names because I know they're at the place down the road from you all. But I remember talking to them after that regional and them saying it was like the best college baseball environment they'd ever experienced. And so I think from that is what started my crusade to try to get Louisiana on the schedule to go experience that, to go to a place that historically has been so good, and where the people care so much about college baseball. And then that was exactly my experience. I mean, that was opening day for us. Opening day is hard enough, and it's doubly hard when you're playing a good team and there's how many, you have 4,000 or 5,000 people? Is that about?
Yeah, I want to say we reported like 42 that day, 4,200.
Yeah, it like lived up to all of the billings, and most places here in California you get 500, 600, 700, 800 fans, and so our trip there lived up to everything that those Arizona guys told me about that regional experience. And again, my lasting impact was how cool Coach Deggs was. Had never met him before, had seen him on some of those press conferences that went viral. I mean, he is the only coach. This is my 12th year coaching. We were traveling that Thursday morning, like how they are. And I had a phone number from a call from a number I didn't have. And it was Coach Deggs calling just to say, hey, I know you all are traveling. If you need anything today, here's my number. Call me. And like, nobody's ever done that in 12 years. Met him on Friday, and he was overly nice and gracious. Then the game starts and he wants to beat you like no other, like every good coach does. And then how much the fans wanted to win. And then after the games, how you get the food on the way to the bus. And so those are my long-winded, lasting impressions of just how good the team was, how great the environment was, how well we were treated. We would hope to, extend a lot of that stuff back to Louisiana, minus we won't be able to do 4,200. And I don't know if our food will be as good as yours. We're giving you all breakfast burritos on Saturday, Sunday that we get, but it's about the best we could do.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We love hearing that. The fans, the fans still need encouragement. We don't need motivation to have a good time, but reminding the fans of why it's important for the boys and for the coaches and everything. I always like to talk to opposing coaches about that because I think it's important.
You could go back and watch that game. I remember we had a miscommunication, I think, on a PFP and maybe a missed pop-up too, that the fans make the communication difficult. So, and the people out there do a great job.
From the horse's mouth. Keep doing your job, folks. Lane, you have anything for the coach? Lane's good. Coach Ben, we appreciate the time, man. I know I have some friends that sit next to me that are on their way to UC Irvine. Last night, I think. Well, no, it was this morning, 5:25, I think the plane left. So we'll have some representation out there. I hope they have a great time. I'm sure you guys will treat them well. But most importantly, just wanted to thank you for your time.
Cool. Thank you, Josh. Thanks, Lane.
Of course, an awesome job as always, Lane and Josh. Josh now joining us on the stream. Welcome, Comrade Cole. Glad to have you, man. We kind of talked about this before tonight. You were talking about how interviewing this coaches, it makes it hard to hate them, right? I mean, it was like when we played San Jose State. I mean, Coach is such a nice guy. Coach Flip, such a cool dude. Harvey last week, and now this week, with UC Irvine, it's hard to hate these guys when you get to know them a little bit because they're all trying to do the same thing that we're trying to do, just win some baseball games.
Yeah, I mean, you heard him. Likeable. They have a program like we do that constantly has to scuffle for everything they get. They have to earn everything. I enjoy the conversation. He was really cool. Anytime they play away from us, I'm going to root for them. I've always kind of rooted for the Anteaters for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they're the Anteaters. But they always seem to like Fullerton and Long Beach. They're fun teams to watch. They play a really exciting and fun college baseball brand. So getting to know him a little bit was really cool. He was awesome. He shared more than I thought he would. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, that is good stuff. By the way, I just out of curiosity, I was trying to understand how to say anteater in French, because we're French people. Those are the things that we think about, right? So fumier is one way to say it. I think tamanoir is another way to say anteater. So beat the fumiers this weekend, I guess. Oh man, I can't stop. Can't stop. Yeah, print the shirts. Can't stop being a coon ass. Before we go ahead and talk more about UC Irvine, Josh, I did want to touch on our midweek games. Of course, the 3-0 shutout loss to McNeese, followed up by a nice win, 9-7. Probably gave up a few more runs than I would have liked, but it's midweek, so as long as you win the game, you win the game. And I'm happy, that we got some arms out there that got to see some live action. I'm glad we got some bats. Definitely finding the baseball last night, but it's a tale of two nights, and I think there's a little criticism going around in Cajunville. Some of our fans questioning the lineup and saying, did we really just put a lineup of kids from Lake Charles out there on Tuesday night just because they're from Lake Charles? And the joke was last night, well, are we going to start? Who's from Southeastern? His dad was the coach.
RT.
Yeah. So are we going to start RT because he's from Hammond? So, your thoughts about Tuesday night? I mean, that was just an ugly game. We struggled at the plate. It was ugly. I don't know that we hit more than one ball out of the infield, maybe two the entire night. We were not competitive at the plate. We let some guys who look like they just came out of, Barb High School on the third team JV squad come in and throw some sliders, and we were just swinging for the fences over and under whatever they threw. Talk a little bit about what you saw Tuesday night. And then again, last night we go back to semi. I mean, we had a lot of younger guys playing, but last night our lineup just showed up and played baseball.
McNeese. Deg said when it gets dark, it's hard to hit in that park because their lights are subpar.
Come on, man.
I mean, I don't want to hear that.
Come on,
nobody
man.
does. Look, they scored 3 runs. We scored 0. At the end of the day, that's the result. And, I try not to be results oriented, but it was an ugly display. It is what it is. Let's just embrace it. It was not good.
It was a midweek loss.
And is it going to end the season? No. But let's talk about the lineup thing. I'm happy to bitch and complain about Deg's lineup. On the other hand, it's why we're able to recruit the way that we do. One thing that coaches regularly get crushed about is, you recruit a kid from the middle of Indiana, and when you go to play a team somewhere around that area, you give old Johnny the start because mom and dad are going to show up. As a fan, I don't like that. Obviously, if little Johnny can't hit, he needs to sit on the bench. At the same time, it's why you're able to recruit guys from the Midwest or guys from Texas or Florida or whatever. It's because they know when when there's an extra bit of motivation, Degs will throw them in there. You never know what you can get from a situation like that. So I'm not going to crush them over that. If this is a different team than in 2019 or 2020 or 2021, like, we have a solid core. We are headed in the right direction. We have a brand of baseball that we play, and we have some extremely talented freshmen. And people are going to get sick and tired of hearing how talented our freshmen are, as long as we're not getting the ball out of the infield for half a ball game and not scoring runs in Lake Charles. I get that part. But the fact of the matter is that the more reps that they get in the long run, it does pay off. And I see that even as a fan who wants to hit the ball and score a bunch of runs. I get it. I get the idea behind it. So that I love it? No, of course not. I want to, especially when you're young, I'd like to see the same guys get the most amount of reps that are going to, eventually be your everyday lineup. I don't think Dex has an everyday lineup. That's where we missed the boat here. His everyday lineup is something new.
I think it's like, for me, it's like Pavlov's dogs, where you condition them to do what you want. And now I think having Degs here 4 or 5 years, he's conditioned me to expect we will never know what the lineup is going to be. And we are going to suck at the front end and compete through a regional at the back end of our schedule. And I can't complain about that, Josh. I think earlier, even last year, we would get frustrated at the beginning of the year, and here we go again. And I think, like Pavlov's dogs, we've just been kind of conditioned to say, okay, this is his strategy. This is what he does. I'm just going to sit back and let the man do his thing because the results, he gets the results, right?
And that's where I'm at. It's like, I don't like a lot of the things that we do under the Deggs regime. I don't agree with throwing a live hot bullpen on Tuesday instead of a bullpen just regular, like we used to, like we've always done. I don't think it adds all that much. I think it's just an opportunity to get your confidence tanked and get hurt. I just don't. But that's old school, and at least I'm aware of it. I'm aware that I'm old school in that regard. I don't like the constant lineup changes. In the end, it's hard to argue it because we've been in 3 regionals in 3 years. So we can sit here and complain about our preference, but the truth of the matter is that when it counts the most, we got a bunch of war-ready guys that have seen live bullets, and when the lights come on brightest, they always seem to step up. So as far as McNeese goes, I was impressed with our pitching. You know, Jay Artillette, I don't know if he ended up taking the loss, but he didn't deserve it. He pitched just fine. And then you saw Tate Hess come out Wednesday night and look like a weekend guy. And then bullpen hit or miss. You know, Toit gave up a tank there. I don't. That's another reason why I hate doing the live bullpen. You know, that should have never happened. Is all I'll say. But a lot of the young guys got some reps. It looks shaky at times, but the truth is that Southeastern's a very good hitting ball club. Coming into that game, I think they were hitting 370 something as a team. I think they led the country in home runs. Now I don't know what the competition was like, but I know they can swing the bat. So we gave up 7 runs to that team, but we scored 9. We came out and we made things happen with the bat. Drew Markle continues to be the unsung hero of the offense. He might be the best bunter we've had on this team in 5 years. And people can poo-poo that opinion, but watch him bunt the ball 3 feet outside of the zone. He's done it like 5-6 times. We got guys in there that are just making things happen. The young guys continue to produce. They continue to get up there and look like they belong. As far as beating Southeastern, it's not like we're not going to jump up and down about it, but the offense played well. You got to tip your hat to the offense. And they didn't get a whole lot of freebies, which was the other thing. You know, we earned a lot.
Yeah, it was good to see because we've won in a couple different ways this season. We've beaten Nebraska, 10-2. I mean, that was a blowout. Then we had to hit our way to victory because it seemed like, 5 runs wasn't enough, 7 runs wasn't enough. We needed 9, and we got it. The one thing I want to see that I haven't seen yet is a close win, like at the very end when it's at the bottom of the 9th and it's 3-2 and we need 2 run, a run to score, a run to tie, or 2 to win, and pulling out the win that way. We saw that a couple times last year. We haven't seen it this year. So, just good to see that we're starting to win in different ways. And I'm sure that is going to be coming soon as well. Moving on to UC Irvine, anything that coach said that kind of stands out to you going into the weekend? We'll talk about lineups. We'll talk about pitching rotations, but is there anything that stood out to you during that conversation or just kind of reflecting on it later that you're thinking we need to make sure that we're disciplined, whether it be on the plate, on the mound? Do you think that they're going to be kind of like San Jose State, where going in we thought, okay, they're going to be a small ball kind of club? Well, it seems like they're not. They have 4 guys hitting over 500, over 300 right now. So kind of your thoughts overall going into the weekend, then we'll break it down by lineups and by pitching staff this weekend.
First and foremost, I thought the best thing about the the McNeese game is that we got that roadie out the way. So we know what it's like to play in somebody else's building, before going on the road to Irvine, where, maybe there's not going to be 3,000 raucous fans, but they'll have a little bit of an environment. I think people will show up to watch the Cajuns. One thing that I thought that Lane did a great job in his research for his questions that he wrote, or whoever wrote the questions, you guys, I think, double team that. You mentioned that it was an all right-handed starting pitching rotation. And if you look at our lineup, we're starting 6. Our last time out, we started 6 left-handed hitters. So you got to think about the matchup and how it favors the Cajuns. And the other thing is that they have a team ERA of around 6. Now that's earned run average. They've given up some freebies too. So they haven't, and you heard Coach Ben talk about it, they haven't pitched up to their abilities, but they have shown that they can be hit. And, just the confidence that gives you as a hitter, knowing that you're going into a place that's going to give up some runs, and that you have the matchup in your favor. I like that. I thought that stood out to me the most about talking strategy. And I love watching, like I told him, I love watching West Coast baseball. In a way, we kind of play that style baseball. And his ability and the way that he said that we need to get there, or that they need to get out our leadoff hitters to stay ahead of the offense. I think the same thing about them. I think we need to keep their guys off base paths. I think that's going to be big for us. I think it's an exciting. He said it. I agree. It is the most. It should be at least the most talked about non-traditional power series this weekend. It's the two the smaller schools together. Like, as far as when you look down the schedule, Cajuns at UC Irvine is the best. It's the best matchup. It is the marquee matchup this weekend. But yeah, I really like the fact that we are left-handed dominant in the lineup. I look for Diggs to even pack even more the young guys in there to try to get that matchup to favor us. So that stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Georgia Southern, that guy will probably argue with you and say, no, our series against Campbell is more important. But, I'm just going to leave that poor guy alone. We talked about him already. And
shout out to them. And Campbell's a great team. I loved when we played them. I can't wait to play them again. I have a lot of respect for their program, but I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, it's Cajuns and Irvine. The Anteaters had the best winning percentage in college baseball last year. And while they do, they have a lot of turnover, you heard him. Their goal at that school every year is to get to Omaha and win a national championship. I want to be associated with programs like that.
Yep. And we'll talk about the rest of the Sun Belt, who they're facing off. There are some good matchups in the Sun Belt this weekend. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Talking about lineups this weekend, just think of 2 or 3 players, considering we're going to be facing three right-handed starters, 2 or 3 players this weekend that you think have to be in the lineup all 3 games. And I know that's just, I could name 4 or 5 that I want every game, and I have my lineup that I wish we would stick to, but just particularly for this weekend, 2 or 3 guys that you want to see every game this weekend that you think can make the biggest impact.
I think Sam is your second baseman. Now, I know he kicked the ball this weekend, so he probably won't see the field for 2 weeks the way Diggs treats that poor guy. I'm obviously kidding, but it's true, kind of. I want to see Sam in the lineup. He just makes things happen. We have got to figure out a way to get Donkey out of this rut. We need a slump buster. So somebody out there knows a girl. We're in desperate need of a slump buster for Donkey.
Okay. By the way, can you say who Donkey is? Because we want to make sure everybody knows who you're talking about. Okay.
Luke Uhas. He's the best bad ball hitter on the team. He's the guy that possesses the power that can change a game like immediately. Also, he gets really fired up when he impacts the game. So I need to get Donkey off the snide. I need a slump buster shout out, and I need Sam in the lineup. And look, Connors, he's seeing the ball. Everything he hits is very hard. So I'd like to maybe see him back in the 3-hole, to be honest with you, Nick. I don't see any reason to keep him 5-6. I think he's proven himself. Look, with Connor, you're going to get feast or famine a lot of times. Sometimes he's going to look foolish, and sometimes he's going to hit it 500 feet. I'm okay with that for now. We need to play the long ball, the gap, get the ball in the gap. We need to use the bunt and short game. We're going to have to do it all this weekend because this team is solid everywhere you look, and they're going to score runs. I love Chase. I love our starting pitching. I like our bullpen. I think that this team is going to find a way to score runs when we visit. So we're going to have to score to win. And this 4, 5, 6 hit thing that we got going on, we got to bust out. I'm glad that Brooks Wright has stepped on the field and immediately been a producer for us. That's great. At the end of the day, a freshman can't be our best hitter. I'm sorry. We return a better core than that. We need to go on the road, and we need our older guys to step up. You see Jose starting to come around. He kind of started off slow. I need to see Jose putting barrel on ball a little bit more often. I think he's slowly doing that. If you remember last year when our offense was clicking on all cylinders, like right around the beginning of conference play, Jose was on a tear. And when he turns the lineup over, I don't know what it does to the top of that lineup, but those guys just kick it in high gear. So give me Donkey, give me a slump buster somewhere along the road trip. Need a slump buster. Give me Sam Ardoin somewhere in the lineup, and I got to get Higgs back in the top 3, maybe even a cleanup. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, those are my 3 picks, and I want to see more out of Caleb Stelly this weekend. I think Caleb's a solid hitter. I think he can go on a tear. I mean, I think he might have the most at bats on the team right now, but he's only hitting like 230. I want to see more out of Caleb. But yeah, those 3 are my 3 this weekend, and going to be interesting to see how we get going in the game. Like, I feel like there are too many times this season that we just can't get the bats going early, and we struggle and we don't try to get on base. We don't try to bunt our way on, and we get somebody on and then we base running error. I mean, that drives me absolutely crazy. We all know that base running mistakes, because you're aggressive, I guess you're going to have them. But yeah, I want to see how we come out Friday night. Not only that, but it being an 8 p.m. game. Now it's 8 p.m. our time, but that's a little bit different time zone. You just flew in today. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys come out in game 1 battling at the plate. I think it'll be important for us to come out and make a statement early.
And Orloff said when it gets dark out there, the air gets thick and it's cold, the ball doesn't fly out of the park. So I don't expect a lot of homers, but we're going to have to manufacture runs. And you mentioned Stelly. I personally think Stelly's heating up. You saw him the thing about Stelly is he doesn't strike out, puts the ball in play. Exactly.
I mean, we love Higgs, but Higgs is feast or famine. He's either going to hit it down the line for extra bases or he's going to strike out. Yeah. You have consistency with Stelly at the plate.
Agree. And that's why at the end of the day, that's why he's at the top of the lineup, because he's going to put the ball in play. But man, he's hitting the ball hard, and he's hitting them where they ain't right now.
Yeah.
So if we can get Stelly rolling like he was his freshman year when he was in the postseason and really making noise, this lineup becomes dangerous. And look, he's getting more healthy. Remember, he had that surgery with that whole bone thumb thing, so maybe it just took a minute for him to get in the groove. Yeah. Stelly, if we can get Stelly in the 2-hole hitting the way he is right now, I mean, he's potentially very, very dangerous.
Totally agree. All right, moving on to the pitching side of things. Like you mentioned, UC Irvine has a 6 ERA. One thing I noticed, and I think, for a team that has played the same number of games that we have this season, or actually I think they played maybe one less, but they're looking at having given up 12 home runs on the season. The Cajuns have given up 6. So I think there will be the opportunity there to hit the long ball, which we have not done a lot of so far this season. I mean, you expect our guys to be power hitters and crank them out. Haven't done that yet. They're starting to, again, kind of get in their groove. So we'll see if in that thin air, before it gets dark, like you said, that thin air, the ball's able to carry there or not. For Louisiana, we obviously going to have Chase Morgan on Friday, McGeehee on Saturday, and then TBA on Sunday. It would be hard for me to believe that if Herman is not feeling okay on Sunday, that he's not going to pitch. I think he's a shoe-in. They're probably going to wait and see how he's feeling after that long outing. If he can't go, what are your thoughts? Who goes if Herman's not the guy on Sunday?
I mean, how do you not throw Herman? Right? How do you not?
I know. I mean, but I'm just saying, if he's feeling sore, if he's not, because they held him out for a little bit. I mean, there is a possibility that he doesn't, and I don't know. I mean, do you go with Tillett? He only pitched 2 the other night.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Parker Dillhoff get another shot. I think
Dillhoff needs to show something. He needs to show me something.
Well, he can definitely throw the fastball.
Yeah.
He's got a power fastball, and coming from the left side, I love that. He's got to be consistent with that second and third pitch. I agree with that. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate giving him another shot. Now, if it's a rubber game, I still don't understand why it's not Herman. Maybe it's gamesmanship by Deggs, and that's probably what it is. But who looks really good is Rosario coming out of the pen.
Yeah,
man. In his 2 appearances, he looks unhittable, and he presents a different challenge for hitters at the plate. I don't know if he's a starter caliber. And Hess went on Wednesday, so I wouldn't expect him to start on Sunday. And I think he threw like 70 pitches, so it's not going to be Hess. I don't know, man. That's a good question. Maybe Trimble.
Yeah, could be Trimble. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing him get another shot. That's a good question.
But I think it depends on what you see coming out of the bullpen as well. I mean, you don't know what you're going to see Friday or Saturday.
And it depends on what happens on Friday and Saturday.
Exactly.
But things that we don't talk about. The pitching staff as a whole has an ERA around 4 with a whip around 1.37. If you stop and consider that we've given up 17 or 18 unearned runs, the pitching staff outside of some of the young guys and some kicking the ball around the infield has been really, really, really good. Like,
Josh, doesn't it feel good to have a pitching staff that,
oh my God.
I mean, I'm not saying they're all reliable. They're still trying to find their place. You know, the guys are all serviceable. They're trying to find where they are. But for so many seasons when Deggs took over, and look, I mean, no fault on the guy, you know, he's taken over a program and they're trying to figure things out. We didn't even know. We were trying to plug in starters for guys who've never started in their career. There were relievers or starters, and now starters or relievers. We didn't really have any consistency there. We know who our Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys are, and we're at the third weekend of the season. Now, again, Herman to me is going to be the guy on Sunday, but if he is, then that's your lineup going forward for the rest of the season. Feels good. Feels good to have those problems and trying to figure out if he can't go, the wealth of talent that we have behind them to go on Sunday.
And look, McGehee was good Saturday, and it was one performance, but he didn't give you any reason to doubt that he can't do that again. That was pretty workman. You know, I mean, he went out there and he just kind of took care of business. He got out of jams. He made big pitches. He pitched. He didn't throw. He pitched the ball. That was great. It was great to see him bounce back from a hit early in the inning. I think it was the second inning. He gave up a hit to lead off, and then I think he also had a walk there. So it was good to see him to see him battle. You know, and his defense helped him out. Like I said, the formula is clear. If you don't beat yourself, you got a chance to win. Especially with those guys on the mound. Who's going to try to beat Chase Morgan on Friday and then have to deal with a guy with a 3,500 spin rate coming from the right side on Saturday. And then you follow that up with Herman, who goes from 86 to 72, and that looks like 98 to 70. I mean, everything he throws dives out of the strike zone. I mean, you have real potential with this rotation. And I'm not just talking about like regional potential. You keep these guys healthy, and there's really no ceiling to which you can accomplish. It really just comes down to, can we defend it? And can we manufacture runs? And right now, we've shown life. You've already seen an evolution from game one to now. Things are changing. We're figuring out who can do what, and that's with some of our best hitters, that we expected coming into the season, not hitting the ball. Shout out Donkey. I mean, I know it's in there. I just got to see it. But pitching wise, no, Nick, I think you're right. I actually think that somewhere along the line we're going to get Herman on Saturday. I think that's going to happen. He's just too reliable. He's just old reliable. Look at what he did last year. Look at what he did in junior college. I mean, the guy he just goes out there and does his thing. And based on what Gunnar says, is like, he didn't even know, are we in a game here? Is this a bullpen? Whatever. He's just aloof about it. He just goes out and does his job, having a great time, doesn't care about anything.
Well, that's awesome. So yeah, excited about the series this weekend. I'm just as pumped as going to UC Irvine as I am when they came here in 21. If you ain't excited about the series, you don't know college baseball. So excited to play the Anteaters, or I forgot what French word it was. I already forgot it. My attention span is very limited.
And they call it the Anthill. I just think that's
is
so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. By the way, shout out to Lane for getting the video clips of the Section A on trying to guess the Anteater logo. That was pretty funny. We're gonna have to do that again. I know we have a couple of other teams coming in later this season, so we'll see if we can get some baseball newbies to guess the logos. We got some good baseball around the Sun Belt this coming weekend, kicking off at 2:00 on Friday. It will be James Madison hosting Fairfield in a 3-game series, App State hosting Gardner-Webb this weekend in Boone, and then Marshall hosting FDU in Huntington, West Virginia. I don't know who FDU is, and I don't really care.
It's the team that upset Virginia, maybe? They were 16 in basketball. They were 16 to beat
the FDU Knights.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Fairleigh
right.
Davidson or something like that.
Yeah. Fairleigh Dickinson.
That's what it was.
That's who it is. Okay.
Like, if anybody's out there doing sports investments, it was one of the most lopsided betting evenings in the history of Las Vegas because of that 16 defeats to 1. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I do know FDU then. Coastal Carolina hosts Rutgers. That series kicks off at 3:00 tomorrow, along with Missouri State hosting ULM at 3:00. Georgia Southern travels to Buies Creek, North Carolina to face the Campbell Camels. By the way, please don't bid on the Nobody's jerseys. I'm trying to win one, man, and I keep getting outbid, so I'm going to have to try to snipe it at the very end tomorrow, but those Nobody's jerseys are pretty legit.
Can
Troy-
we do an Uncommon Savage giveaway or
Yeah,
auction?
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Uncommon Savage jerseys.
There you go. Uncommon. What is our new hashtag that we have? The
vast minority.
Vast minority. Maybe we need to have some of those jerseys printed for us.
Oh,
we need to get sponsors for that.
That's definitely a Rage and Review shirt.
Coastal Carolina hosting Rutgers. We mentioned that one. Troy is going to host Penn this weekend. That kicks off tomorrow night at 4:00. Old Dominion playing in a tournament at Middle Tennessee in Murfreesboro. They will be playing St. Bonaventure, Middle Tennessee, and not Gardner Webb. I can't see who else they're playing. Okay, so they're going to be playing at least those two teams over the weekend. Georgia State will host Alabama A&M in a 3-game series. Grand Canyon travels to Texas State. That kicks off tomorrow night at 6:00. That'll be a good series to watch.
Texas State sneaky playing good ball right now.
Yeah, they are. I mean, hell, they just beat the number 1 team in the country in Texas A&M. Now, were they overrated? Maybe, but still, you went into Bluebell and you did what you did. And was it their pitcher that was talking shit with the little wiggle and all that?
Oh, I'm sure they do that.
Yeah, it was him.
But
it was in Texas
league-
State. It was pretty funny.
League's knocking off the top of the SEC like every week.
Why is that new, Josh?
It
It's
isn't.
kind of what we do.
Whole lot of Super Bowls going on.
But we're mid-major. Southern Miss travels to TCU this weekend. That kicks off at 6:00 tomorrow. Jacksonville State is hosting Arkansas State. South Alabama hosting Jacksonville. And then, of course, we travel to UC Irvine. That series kicks off at 8:00 tomorrow night. So I'm going to have to take some extra caffeine shaws to make sure I stay. I'm usually in bed at 8. Shoot, I'm getting old, man.
I'm just happy it's on TV.
What's that?
I'm just happy it's on TV.
Well, yeah, I am thrilled that it's on TV. Did want to go before we moved on, because we're going to talk about softball in a second. Greg Vincent asking, great to see us that we continue to get opposing coaches on the show. When will we hear from a Cajuns coach on the podcast? Greg, you're welcome to call and ask the athletic department that. We have several times reached out. In fact, we've had coaches that were ready to come on and agreed to come on, and then at the very last minute, we're told they could not come on with us. So feel free to make it known. I mean, we no longer reach out because we know the answer, and it's kind of a pointless at this point. But again, the fans are the voice. So if you do want to see some coaches come on this show, Josh, I mean, if I'm wrong in saying it, give them a call, let them know what you think.
I would call my congressman, Greg. Call your congressman. Tell him you're unhappy. Now these people will do anything to thwart everything we try to do. So
Call the guy from Opelousas. He'll
call
get it
anybody.
done. He'll
Call the
show up with
mayor.
yeah.
Call him. You know, we're
Call
trying, man.
Josh Guillory. He's not doing anything these days. What the hell?
He's doing a radio show.
Josh
actually.
and Albert can get on it, and they can figure it out. All right, moving on to Cajuns softball this weekend. Cajuns have 5 games this weekend as they travel to a non-Raging Cajuns Invitational. They will be in a tournament. They'll play Rutgers twice, McNeese State, and Auburn twice as well. Not much to say there, Josh. We're gonna find out, what these Laters are made of. I think they're 8-4 in the season so far. Playing better than I expected at this point of the season after you saw that first game. And I know we kind of all hit the panic button, and then they got blown out by Texas, but Texas is really, really good. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they match up against Auburn, Rutgers, and McNeese State. It was a couple of years ago that they almost upset the number 1 team in the country
and should have. And
then when it ended up, they screw us at everything. Even when they lose, not even playing us, they screw us. You notice that? It must be an old McNeese State thing. They screwed us with our name.
That's why they exist. No, I agree with you. I think the softball team is ahead of schedule. I think that Texas is probably going to end up in the Final Four, at least. Final Four teams that go to the Women's College World Series, they're super good. I mean, totally loaded. I think that now I haven't watched Auburn play, but from everything that I read, they're solid, not great. I think that the Cajuns have an opportunity to make some noise. 8-4, decent out of conference schedule so far. Knock off an SEC team that'll likely make the tournament. It's great. It's a great notch on your belt for the resume. Just got to pitch it. I think that it begins and ends in the circle for this team. If they can find somebody to pitch it, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to scrap to the end. I think they've shown you that they've got character on the team. Just being able to come back from multiple runs down late in games. We just walked off Houston, which is a very quality team. One thing I really liked coming away from that tournament is the momentum, just the positive momentum we have going forward. Auburn's a good test. I think it's a good time to play them, and I think we have an opportunity to really do some good for the rest of our season here.
Yeah, I agree. I look forward to it. It should be a good weekend series, and look forward to watching. I keep wanting to call them the Lady Cajuns, man. I wish we would have never changed it. Lady Cajuns just sounds cool. I don't know.
You can say that. It's Trump's America again.
That's right. Yeah, Gulf of America, Lady Cajuns. I mean, what are they going to do? Shut us down? They'd like to. Turning it now to basketball. Raging Cajuns suffering a loss last night. Not even going to mention the score because it was a lot to not even close. But there was a point in the game where I think it might have been a 5-point game, and Arkansas State was kind of back and forth early in it. And then the elbows started happening, and then the hard fouls started happening, and then technicals started being issued, and just a lot of ugliness. And you never want to see that. I mean, I appreciate the passion, but at that point, we almost saw one of our players get hurt later in the game with that super hard foul that turned out to be a flagrant, which I think the guy should have been tossed for that, but whatever. Just ugly. And I don't think either school is really happy with the way that escalated. I think it's your typical Sunbelt Conference referee crew that can't get a game under control, and that's the kind of shit that happens. Josh, did you get to catch any of that game? I kind of had it off for the first part. Then when I turned it on, it was just immediately ugly. There was just stuff happening all over the court that wasn't even called. It was bad.
Caught a good bit of the second half, but you nailed it. This all starts with incompetent officiating. And this is not breaking news. We always have incompetent officiating, but when you let things escalate between two teams, number one, you got Kobe Julian on the other end. Arkansas State, whether, basketball and football, we've a lot of times had some bad blood between the two schools. You got to know the history. And the Cajuns are fighting for their life. They're fighting for a seed. They're trying to find some miracle to make a run in the postseason tournament. And then you have Arkansas State that's going to come in here and they're going to make a statement. That's what they're here for. And as soon as they smell blood in the water, they started rubbing it in. And look, dude, Coach Zim's not going to sit there and take that. And I know people want to say, well, Zimmerman shouldn't have mouthed off and all that. Well, look, I actually agreed with that. At some point, somebody's got to stand up for your guys. And one thing that we figured out is that this roster plays hard for Coach Z. And there's a reason why. And you saw it on the court. He's going to stand up for them. So he obviously has their respect, and there's a reason. I think that at the end, people are going to get reprimanded. And yeah, the schools are not happy. But the officiating crew needs to be reprimanded more than any because they allowed it to get out of hand. And how you don't call that a flagrant and an ejection, I'll never understand. It was clearly not a basketball play. The kid almost broke his leg, and it got ugly. And how this continues to happen in the Sun Belt Conference, nobody ever knows how to play the game. Is it going to be overly physical? Is it not? Are we never know what to expect. It's such drastic changes one way or the other every time out. Saturday in the Sun Belt once again. I know it wasn't Saturday, but the saying, you get it. It's just unfortunate, man. It's just unfortunate. You got a product that's literally dying. If you look at the numbers, the professional game's dying, the collegiate game is dying, and we can't figure out that it's awful officiating and super subjective calls that ruin games, ruin the fan experience, ruin the environment. You already struggle to get people to go into the Cajun Dome, and then you treat them to something like that. I think it's unfortunate all the way around.
Somebody like Angel Hernandez, which was clearly terrible at his job, but at least it made the game entertaining no matter what. If Angel Hernandez showed up behind the plate, you knew you were going to have a good time booing his ass because he's terrible, but it's going to be on both sides of the ball. There was it's subjectivity there. He's just a bad umpire, and all of the calls will probably go the same way. What's so hard about, like you said, is so subjective because you don't know what you're getting, not only from night to night, but like period to period, or should I say half to half. You don't know what a foul is half the time. They'll call it tight in the first half, and they loosen up in the second half, and then in the last 20 seconds, they're calling it differently than they did the first 10 minutes. I don't know, man. If there was AI, I guess the point I'm trying to make is if there was AI a way for that sport to have automatic referees that could call a game the right way, then I think I'd be okay with it. So quit focusing on baseball and football, because that's all part of the game. Basketball is just being ruined because of bad officiating.
Well, the subjectivity is so much worse in basketball. Like, what is a foul? It's like, remember when the NFL had the catch situation? What is a catch?
Yeah. What's a catch? The tuck rule, all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. That's been basketball like our whole lives. Like, you can hand check, you can't hand check. Once they start implementing it, sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't. What's over the back? Nobody knows. You know, what's a foul when you get on the deck and you try to fight for the ball? When's the jump ball? When's the foul? Like, no, it's never consistent. You know, and you can say the same thing about baseball where the strike zone typically moves, but it'll move and then you know where the strike zone is. So then you know what to expect. That is totally different. In football, people are actually held accountable because the entire nation is watching. Nobody's holding these guys accountable when, 1,500 people are in Lafayette are watching a college basketball game. It only blows up after you let it get out of control, and then it goes viral. And then it embarrasses everybody involved. I just think they have so many problems. Officiating's at the top of that pile, and it's unfortunate. Now, as far as the game goes, dude, Arkansas State has a ton of talent. Kobe Julian, I get why he left, but he's like the fourth best player on that team.
I was going to say, he really didn't play all that. I mean, he got 6 points last night. Didn't really affect the game whatsoever, but
it shows you the talent level that they have, because
the Dominguez guy, who I guess is my cousin, was just ridiculous.
Somewhere along the line, he got off of one of those ships. No, but seriously, like, they're very talented. They have size. They have everything you want. They can make a tournament run, I think. And I'm talking about the NCAA. I think that they might be the next really good Sun Belt Conference team to win a game, maybe two, in the big dance. We just don't have it, Nick. I mean, we've said it here. You know that if you've watched any amount of Cajun basketball, some nights they can get on the floor and be scrappy, and they can will themselves to a win. And you've seen them do that, and they deserve credit for it. But when you go against a team that has talent, runs an offense, we can't compete. Not even. Now
they only have to play 2 games in the tournament, right? Because it is 7 days in Pensacola, but 7 days in March, I guess I should say. But they only have to win 2 games in the tournament, right?
It's something like that. This new bracket is just wacky.
And that's what's screwed up, is that they could just have an off night, or another team just catch them. They're on a streak and they beat them. And
I think the entire argument is to protect your best team.
I agree. Yeah.
So they're only making them play 2. Now, I'm conflicted on that. Like, if you're good, you should be able to earn your way to the dance. At the same time, I get that it's a 1-bid league. Anybody can have an off night. I get all that stuff. I just think this bracket is so absurd.
I agree. Well,
that's a whole other conversation.
Pay us enough money to make those big decisions. I did get a message last night about Garnett getting a tech. Apparently, if you remember, he got the tech when he was running back from, I think Arkansas State had scored a basket, and then he was running down, and the Arkansas State coach was clapping right by him, and Garnett turned around and looked at him and kind of said, "F you." And that's when he got the tech. But from what I understand, somebody that was sitting close to it told me it was because the Arkansas State coach said, "Ain't good enough," as he was clapping, as he passed by. Took that as a little bit of a, I mean, he's not supposed to talk to opposing players to begin with, because that's an automatic technical. But of course, the referee didn't hear that. They just heard him mouth back, and then that's why you saw Zim get pissed. Is because I think he understood the whole situation, and that chirping had been going on whole game. So still gotta hold on to your composure, but
good
at least
for
the guy's
KG.
got fire, right? Yeah,
good for KG. Like, these administrators expect these kids to go on the court, lay it all out on the line, play their heart out, and do it like a robot. No, man. They're playing with emotion. They're playing with passion. I appreciate that.
I agree.
And good for KG for saying something, because first of all, if that's what happened, it shows the class of the coach and the class of the program that he runs. And
it is Arkansas State. They have a history of that.
Exactly. If you're going to run your mouth, I'm going to say something back. And so good for KG. I'm glad he did that. Good for you.
Cajuns move on to face South Alabama in their final game on Friday before they hit the tournament. I don't know what impact that has on the tournament. It's not stat guy. It's a fact checker is not here tonight to kind of correct us on that.
We're rudderless without fact checker.
Oh, man, I know. Our latest thought was that we would probably have to play 5 games in the tournament to win it. Either way, whether it's 5, whether it's 7, whether it's 4, it's going to be a long, tough uphill battle for the Cajuns, and we just want those guys to go out and play their best, and they will. They always play hard. So I think whatever happens, if we get a win or two, even better. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and I want these guys to go out feeling good about themselves. But hell, I mean, you can't count them out. I think 5 or 6 games is going to be too much for the Cajuns, and I think Zookeeper might be the fact checker, but he hasn't told us the answer yet. So fact checker, Zookeeper, if you come up with the answer, then you can be the temporary fact checker of the night. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right, Josh. Last thing before we turn over to the final topic of the night, we're going to talk about the Sun Belt Conference Men's Indoor Track and Field Championship for the first time since 1996. I'm not going to tell you how old I was in 96. Yes, I was alive. Yes, I'm old. Raging Cajuns captured the Sun Belt Men's Indoor Track and Field Championship in Birmingham. 142 team points. It's their 6th overall title. They broke some Sun Belt Conference records in the process. You know, we don't talk about it that much because we don't know a whole lot of about track and field. Like I said, Dan McDonald, that guy gets geeked up about some track and field. My dude knows every decathlete, if that makes sense. I don't know, all the Shaws that they do, the 400 meter, 500 meter, running around 50 times. He knows all about that, and I don't know about it. But track has come a long way, man. Track has come a long way. Kudos to those guys. I wish we could have them on because I think that is an underrepresented sport on our campus that we need to be promoting, and we need to be celebrating the hell out of this, Josh. Really cool for that. I'm really, really happy for the track team.
I agree, and I wish I knew more about the sport. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Olympic sports. I never participated. But we, Rage and Review, have got to find a way to get some shine on those guys because, you know, if the school is going to bar us from talking to the head coach like we should, and we should be spreading the awareness of their program as far and wide as we can, we have to do something else. Maybe if we can get Dan on and he get excited to come and talk to us about it.
Oh, yeah, that would definitely happen.
I would love to ask him questions. You know, I know that this is a decorated program and it's got a pretty substantial history, especially around the 90s area. I mean, obviously we've put a guy like Hollis Conway, excuse me, in the Olympics, and he went on and was a hell of a representative for the country and for the school, obviously. But there have been other names that people should be more familiar with, and I know I'd count myself in that number. So we've got to figure out a way to get more attention on this program. An indoor championship, as far as I'm concerned and as far as I know, is a pretty freaking big deal. And anytime you say we've done something for the first time in 30 years, basically, that needs attention. So we'll pledge to you guys that we're going to get somebody on here, or we're going to get some kind of comment or something from somebody to highlight the success, because anytime somebody's doing something worth noting around this school, we need to be on top of it. And obviously track and field is a big deal. I mean, we spend so much time watching football and baseball and basketball, you know, we kind of get stuck in a bubble. The Olympic sports worldwide are a lot more popular than college baseball. I mean, that's a fact. We got to do better. We got to find a way. So we're going to do that.
I agree. And Lawson Jacobs was the athlete from Louisiana. He won the men's 400 meter in a record 45.92. So that sounds fast, if you're asking me.
Can you tell us who else, like other schools that were competing in this indoor? Was it a national championship?
No. This was the Sun Belt Indoor Track and Field Championship. So they will move on to, I think, Virginia Beach, Virginia. So the announcement will be made on the selections on March 4th. I'm guessing this is like everything else. They'll be moving on to the regional round. But
awesome. So we can follow this as they move on in like regional tournaments. Great. So
exactly.
The more information we get, we'll post it, because I don't know anything about any of this, and I'm interested.
Yep. And the women, I mean, they didn't win it on the women's side, but they did come out 5th out of 13. So congrats to them for a good showing as well. I know they had some good performances on the women's side as well. So happy for them. And yeah, would be entertaining, if anything, just to get Dan on here. When we introduce him, we go,
Louisiana.
Yo, Louisiana, hey, that track and field, yo, what's
And that
happening?
ball is skied to left field. Oh no, it's a bunt to third base.
Put another dime in the jukebox, baby. At least it's not, what is Lynn Rollins' thing? He said one weird, pucker up and kiss that baby goodbye.
I
It
can't
was like,
stand his voice. I try my best not to listen, but yeah, it's pucker up and kiss the
that
baby
bat
goodbye.
was lubed up and he just struck it like, I don't know what he said, but it was like, when he said, I was like, what the hell? Anyway, he probably sits at home in the mirror thinking of these things in his head.
Lynn's a special guy, man. Special kind.
I digress. Well, that's why we had his hairpiece at our World Series parade a couple years ago. So we're done with the meat and potatoes of this episode regarding the Raging Cajuns. Josh, there's a lot been going on these past few days. We've been all talking, and getting a lot of DMs with the same questions. So I wanted to kind of throw it out there because, and I know a lot of people, I hinted at the beginning of the episode saying this is something we're going to address and talk about. And I think it's important because it's timely, So, and I feel like if anybody wants to chime in on this topic as well, we do have the phone lines open, 866-454-RAGE. Feel free to call in. And I know LSU fans have a lot to say about this too, because I think it's timely for them as well. Yeah, everybody involved. We're all talking about it. So let's just throw it out there, Josh, and I'll ask you the question and then we'll get the conversation started. It'll be quick. I don't want to drag this on for too long. What are you giving up for Lent? Mardi Gras is Tuesday. So we got 40 days of Lent starting on Ash Wednesday. What are you giving up for Lent this year?
I got to be honest, I'm blindsided. I haven't even thought about it. I've been so busy. I usually put a lot of thought into it. I usually have a well thought out reason. I've been dieting. I haven't had a beer in like two months. So I can't give up any of that stuff. Maybe I'll give up being sober.
That'd be a good one.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe I'll try not to swear for Lent. Yeah. No swearing for Lent.
My what I'm giving up for Lent is illegally streaming. That's something that's going around. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to pay for my stream. I want to contribute to the content creator and not take money out of their pocket. So I think it's important that we as a society don't try to illegally stream stuff. So that's what I'm giving up. I'm not going to watch. Look, I said it, and some stream person comes in our space and talks about streaming. That's kind of weird. So yeah. Anyway, going back to the conversation. Look, this is important for, like I said, LSU people, our people. We're all Catholic. A lot of people are talking about this. They showed up specifically tonight to hear us talk about the elephant in the room, which is what are you giving up for Lent? That's what I'm giving up. I'm not going to stream anything illegal going forward, at least for the next 40 days. Those are my thoughts.
Agree. I think I tried doing the whole I'm going to give up sweets and all that. No, my wife bakes and she's really good.
Oh, Kat, I know. She came over to my mama's house and made some biscuits. We just sitting there one afternoon and she's like, oh, I'm going to make some biscuits.
She makes these things called king cupcakes. I'm not giving that up.
Oh, bruh.
Yeah, I'm not giving that up. I can't do it anymore.
You should just give up, I don't know, cocaine. I mean, you don't do it, so it's easy. You just, I'm not going to have cocaine the next 40 days.
Allegedly, who knows? I could be a junkie.
I mean, yeah, you used to go to the keg. I get that.
Who didn't?
You never know.
By the way, for sale, if anybody's interested.
Cocaine? Oh, no, the keg.
Oh, no, I was talking about I'm holding. No, yeah. No, the keg's for sale. Looks like it's at a bargain price. I'm down to go in 4 or 5 ways. What could we do with the keg? That's something we really should be discussing.
What could we do with the keg? You could set up an illegal streaming thing in there. We could do that. We could do Raging Cajun, Raging Review Studios. That'd be cool.
Raging Review Studios at the keg.
Yeah. Might get burned down, though. Those people have been kind of aggressive over the whole Lent thing the last couple of days.
I'm sure one way or another that place is going to be burnt to the ground. One way or another, the end of that thing's life was always going to be a fire, burnt to ashes.
Yeah.
And Dylan says there's no way this dude trying to ruin Kate.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
What did y'all do?
Is that like ebonics, Cajunomics? I don't.
Somebody who studies economics is maybe he's Cajun.
Man, if we were some good freestyle rappers, Ebonics, Cajun-omics, Economics,
Hey, that's not bad.
pretty good, right?
I didn't think of that.
Just call me a regular Eminem. All right, Josh, it's been fun tonight, man. Always good talking baseball. That's our baby, so enjoy doing that. We got Big Cat in the background. Oh, giving some love.
Good
What's
night,
up, Big Cat? What's up, Big Cat?
Big Cat was
What's
a
up, buddy?
superstar at practice today. He was killing it.
Yeah.
Good night,
We're
man.
gonna give him a new nickname. We'll call him Cajun-omics.
Well, for the longest, he was the brand ambassador.
There you go. Well, we can revive that. I mean, who said we can't?
Well, I think we've hired somebody to be.
Well,
the
we
new brand
have.
ambassador.
That'll be fun to unveil once that is signed, sealed, delivered. So a lot of stuff coming, boys and girls. It'll be a lot of fun.
For sure.
Oh man, that was loud. My bad.
You good?
All right. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. We appreciate you. We'll see you next probably on Sunday. We'll come back after the weekend series is over, talk about it. For Joshua, for the other guys who didn't show up tonight because they have lives, I am Nick. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. We'll talk soon. And as always, as Jerry says, go Cajuns.